Yep. All right. Speaking of the Big Ten, you kind of mentioned grinders. One team that hasn't really been playing grinders this season, TL, is Purdue. They have looked unbelievable. They put up 93 points on North Carolina on Saturday. They came back from 11 down with 9 minutes left to beat Villanova, hit 11 straight shots in the final 9 minutes. I think it ended up being a 25-4 run that they went on to turn an 11-point deficit into a 10-point lead. What do you take out of this group? Where do you see them right now kind of standing in the national picture? And am I right to say that Purdue, I don't know if we can call them the definitive best team in the country right now, but there is no team that you can definitively say is better than Purdue in this very moment.
They're incredible. I think one of the things we were worried about when they decided to start Zach Edey, and everybody's like, oh, hell, what are they going to do with Trevion Williams? This is going to be an interesting thing. Williams has been a fantastic teammate. And the contrast in which they play is just, it's really intriguing to me because Zach Edey's, he's huge. He's going to get really deep post position. And he's going to just score right over the top. Trevion Williams can catch that ball 15 to 17 feet out and make something happen. Like his small area quickness. He's not the fastest guy in the world. But if he gets the ball 10, 12 feet out, he can turn, he can face. He had a crossover move yesterday that was just so impressive for a guy his size with that level of quickness. I love this Purdue team. And we talked about, a lot of people were saying earlier in the year, like, well, I don't know about Purdue's shooting. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Brandon Newman, Sasha Stefanovic, 26 of 51 from three this year.
Hey, look, you know what? You nailed that one. And it's not just them. Jaden Ivey is making threes now. Caleb First is making threes now. I'm just rolling through the roster. Isaiah Thompson yesterday hit two huge threes in huge moments where it was a possession like, okay, they need a bucket. This needs to go in. And here's the other thing. The big concern that I had for that group was kind of the concern that we had for the Isaac Haas team. What are they going to do defensively? Like what happens if you put them in ball screens? There's a reason why you don't see 7'4" monsters playing in the NBA anymore, because what happens when they have to guard on the perimeter, blah, 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 blah. Well, it just so happens that the guy that they have coming off of their bench, Trevion Williams, the first team preseason all Big Ten player that is coming off their bench, I think he showed us a little something on the perimeter. There were a couple possessions where he switched out on the guards, sat in the stance, got low, moved his feet, and kept Villanova players in front. If he's going to be able to do that defensively, all of a sudden – you become much more matchup proof. And at the end of the day, I think matchups are what determines who's going to have success in March, right? And I just don't know. It's early, right? And we just saw Purdue play two great games. But I don't know where you can take advantage of matchups with them. If you want to try to guard Zach Edey one-on-one of the post, you have no chance. If you want to double team him or Trevion Williams, they have the shooters that are going to punish you. If you want to play small, they can counter that by playing Trevion Williams at the 5, who might be able to guard people on the perimeter and is still going to overpower you in the post. If you want to play big against them, you don't have a chance because they're going to be better than you at it. And just so, by the way, Fanta, Matt Painter might be the best coach in college basketball when it comes to X's and O's and finding ways to get his guys in a position to succeed.
And you can also take into, sorry, John, you can also take into account defensively when they sub in, you switch ball screen coverages. And everybody runs ball screen offense now. Everybody. Zach Edey, you're going to drop him because you can drop him because he's huge. 7'5", he's huge. You can drop, he's still going to contest. Trevion Williams, you can get up, you can hedge. He's got quick feet. He can slide. There's a lot of problems if you're trying to score on Purdue. Plus, they're so stinking physical on the wings, and they're big. Caleb First, Fanta, you called it. That guy is really, really good.
Yeah, and I will just say one more thing real quick on the defense. Matt Painter doesn't even think that they're good defensively yet, right? Like he's like we can get some stops, but we talked to him last night. He's like, yeah, we're not good defensively yet. So that's where their ceiling comes in because they're going to figure it out. I mean, Jaden Ivey, when he puts it all together, is going to be a lockdown defender, right? Yes. I think that Trevion Williams, as they kind of figure out exactly what his role is going to be much better.
This is the best team in the Big Ten Conference, and this is the team that matches up the best with the Gonzaga Bulldogs in college basketball. That is the takeaway that I have from the weekend that we just watched. The fact that on November the 21st, Matt Painter can come out of a tournament with fellow top 25 competition and say that he got Zach Edey to produce 30 points in 38 minutes and Trevion Williams to produce 29 points in 33 minutes. The fact that they're coexisting, the fact that Trevion Williams is okay coming off the bench, his emotions speak for themselves on the sideline. This is a program. This is Purdue's best chance to win a national championship ever. Ever. They have the complete package. You have the size. You have the experience. You do have the perimeter shooting. And what do you need when you have all those things to add to it? You need an NBA player. And Jaden Ivey is an NBA player. And that's what turns Purdue from being a team that could just make the Elite Eight or Final Four into a team that could win it all.
To me, that's the difference between them and Villanova, right? When things kind of go south on a possession for Purdue, you always have the chance to just give the ball to Jaden Ivey and say, go make something happen, right?
Yep.
I think what we saw down the stretch against Purdue and we can get into the Villanova conversation a little bit, but down the stretch against Purdue and against UCLA, they didn't have that guy where you just give him a rock and say, go make something happen. If there is a knock on Colin Gillespie, he's great at what he does. He's not someone that you're going to give the rock to and say, make something happen. We're going to get 2 points or a foul no matter what happens off of this possession.
In a different way, it's not the same size, but in a different way, because I think about programs a little bit and how things sort of go. This Purdue team could go on a run because they have that transcendent player, and I like their complementary cast. And I think that they have some specific things that make it really difficult to play them. And they have a coach who's seeking to get that climb the mountain, right? Matt Painter, that national championship trophy. In a way, they give me vibes of Carmelo Anthony and the Syracuse season when Syracuse ended up going all the way and winning the national championship. What Carmelo Anthony was to Syracuse, I think Jaden Ivey can be to Purdue, and I like this Purdue team. And I think that Matt Painter can get what Jim Boeheim got that year and get that national championship trophy. This is the year at Purdue. This is the year at Mackey Arena. The Boilermakers have all the pieces to win the title, and they proved it this weekend.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, T, I'm going to go to you in 1 second, but I think Trevion Williams is the best teammate in college basketball, and I think that his influence on this roster is the reason why they're in this position. I'm going to tell you why. He was a senior, like we said, and a preseason first-team All-Big Ten player that had preseason All-American votes. Not only did he accept a role coming off the bench, not only has he gladly been enthusiastic on the bench, going nuts, cheering, supporting people. Zach Edey, we talked to him yesterday, said that his biggest supporter on that team is Trevion Williams. This kid has prioritized winning over his own personal accolades. And when you see that, and you are Jaden Ivey, why aren't you going to be a little bit more accepting of a role and say, okay, we got to get the ball inside first, and then I can take my chances after we run our offense. If you see that in your Isaiah Thompson coming off the bench, why aren't you okay? If Trevion Williams is okay sacrificing for the good of the team, why can't you be? Because you're nowhere near as good or as important to this team as Trevion Williams is. And T.O., you can speak to this. You've been in a lot of locker rooms. When you have a guy like that setting the tone that is your leader, that turns a roster into a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a guy a little bit like that named Cliff Hammonds, who his numbers weren't crazy, but he was somebody, if somebody copped an attitude one day, he would just say something really smart. He wasn't as demonstrative as Williams, so he wasn't kind of the same guy, but like Cliff would sit there and look at you, and if he said something, you listened, and right away. It only lasted one day because you just moved right on. The entire team moved on, and he seems to be a guy that can kind of rally the troops. But I saw there was another interesting thing, and it's one Jaden Ivey point. I'll get to that in a second, but there was a point where Trevion got his third foul. I think this was against North Carolina. I can't remember which game it was. He got his third foul. Edey also had his third foul. Now, what happens to big guys whenever they're playing very physical basketball? You get one, you're about to get another one. Pretty much, I mean, it's a pretty consistent thing that happens because refs are focused on you. They're looking to see if you do it again. Painter subs them as soon as they get a foul. And I think that's one of the reasons the minutes are so close because, I mean, what's Edey at 22? Trevion's at 19, like something. Like they don't play at the same time, but as soon as there's a foul call, he subs them right away and you don't drop off at all. You look at this Purdue team, are they the most athletic team in the country? Probably not. But I think Jaden Ivey is so athletic that he raises the rest of the team's athleticism because of what he can do with the ball and the speed in which he can do with the ball. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yes,
like there was a couple of Yeah, so like they would come and try to trap him in the full court, and he just busted right through it. He was so fast that like he just completely broke things down. Go ahead, Fanta. I feel like you need to say something. Go with it.
Yeah, he's the type of player that we're not used to seeing in a Purdue uniform.
That's right.
That's just the fact of the matter. And they pulled in a golden treasure here. They really have. We're used to seeing this caliber of a player in a Duke, Kansas, Kentucky uniform.
Yes.
That's the facts. This kid is big time. I mean, I give Carolina credit. I thought Carolina had played hard against Purdue. I thought they just fell short because I didn't see a team. The difference in that game was Purdue's team element came out, and they were unselfish. They didn't need individual playmakers. They run stuff. This is the great mix, T.O., of you could run all the great stuff in your book, and Matt Painter's possibly the best offensive coach in college basketball, but you got to have a dude who can just elevate everybody else around him. Jaden Ivey is that player. This is the perfect mix of sugar and spice for the Purdue Boilermakers. This program has not been to a Final Four since 1980. The only thing that I would be concerned about now is they're going to hear about this, right, for the next 5 months. And I don't think it's a major worry. I think it's a good thing. Relish it, Boilermakers. Relish it, Boilermaker fans. This is your year. It's the year of the Boiler. You have to go ahead and embrace it. You realize they've not been to a Final Four under Matt Painter. Rob, if they don't get there this year, I'm not sure when they're going to get there.
I think they will.
This team is destined to get there, right?
Yeah, and the great thing about this year is that there are probably 7 or 8 teams that are either at the same level as them or on the verge of getting to that level if a couple things break the right way. That's what's great about college basketball this season. But I mean, this is the year to get it done, and I think that
I think there's 5 teams on Purdue's level, or 4 other teams. I think like Purdue. I wrote a little thing on it yesterday. Purdue, Kansas, Duke, UCLA, and Gonzaga. That's your 5. Like that. After that, the question marks are too big to consider everybody on that same plateau, if you will. I think those teams have pretty much everything. And to go back to what Fanta said, this Purdue team, I'm curious to see how Drew Timme would handle that.
Yes.
Like that is different. And I know I keep harping on this guy, but Brandon Newman, I watched him in high school quite a bit. He played for Mean Streets. He played with Armand Franklin, who transferred from Indiana to Virginia. He reminds me a lot, and I know I'm a Clemson guy, but he reminds me a lot of this guy that played for Clemson in their Sweet 16 run named Gabe DeVoe. Yep. Kind of that 6'4", big, strong body, can really shoot the ball, but he's taken a second to kind of figure it out. I think that team's really talented. I think they have enough shooting. I really do. With Sasha Stefanovic, who was it yesterday, tweeted out, I think it was Borzello who tweeted out they're busting out all their old play calls for who was it a couple of years ago but they're shooting the ball incredibly well. If they're able to continue doing that, they're in good shape.
So one thing real quick.
I would trade my second helping of stuffing on Thursday for a Purdue Gonzaga game.
Yeah.